Okay, now I have these in place. I've cut them both out. And I'm just going to act as though I'm just going to be making one for here and one for here. And you notice I flipped them over. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the template on the inside. This sounds really weird, but believe me, it works. And now I trace this onto the back side. I do the same thing. Where's my other little template? Oh, this is the... I also recommend that if you're working on a work surface where you've got a lot of little things, especially tiny pattern pieces, make sure you have a place to put all the tiny pattern pieces. Like I've got a little pile over here that I'm working with. Let's get that trash out of the way. Okay, so I've got these here. What I'm going to do next, this is going to sound a little bazongas. I'm just going to line this up with the edge of that line right there. And I'm just going to continue these lines. Now, you're asking yourself, Katie, why are you doing this? Well, I need things to be as straight as I can make them. This is, while the art teacher part of me feels the need to tell you exactly how to do this in 16 potential different permutations, hoping that you'll find one that you like, or a substitution for a material that you hadn't thought of before. The other parts of me feel as though I'm still a graphic designer and I need to make sure that all of my lines are where they need to go. Now, there is a reason why you're drawing these lines in, and that comes with the scissors. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this little bottom piece here and I'm going to glue it down. Now, I want you to notice something. I'm taking the white side and I'm going to glue it here. So this brown side is facing up. Now, if I took this, because this is a white, and I put the brown behind it, you can see the brown through it, can't you? If I flip it back over to the white, it looks a lot better. And that's why if you don't have any whiteboard at all, you can get just regular board and just give it a couple of real quick coats of white paint, or tape, or glue a piece of white paper onto the top of it. So what I'm going to do now, and this is going to seem a little weird, is I'm going to glue this down, white side down. Okay. And I'm going to get it as centered as I can because I cut these out with scissors. Okay, now I also use a bone folder for a lot of different things. And I found out this came in pretty handy with this particular thing. Now what I'm going to do, can you see where these little marks are? This is going to help you guide where you're cutting, because we're going to cut this in a very particular manner. We're going, because these are curves, we can't just basically cut book corners on this. We've got to do something a little fancier. We're actually going to cut here first. I'm going to take my scissors, line them up, and go all the way to the edge of the cardboard, right on the curve. And you see what that looks like? See how that looks like? It looks like a little tie, doesn't it? And now on each of these sides, I'm going to use this as a guide. And can you see how I didn't cut on the line? I cut a little bit to the side of it. Think about it. If you've ever made an envelope before, or you've ever taken apart an envelope for whatever reason, and then I usually nip this off just to make sure I know what I've done. Okay, so it's got this one little piece here. I'm going to go around each corner and I'm going to go nip, nip. And it's not very long. And notice I nip it in there with the scissors and I give it a little tug. This works so much better with, because if you're thinking, well, can I just skip the Mod Podge? You could. It's going to be harder to glue. What the Mod Podge does, in addition to creating a little bit of tooth, come on, you little stinker, doesn't want to come out of there. is it kind of gives a surface that is a little bit more friendly and receptive to the glue itself. Now, if you don't have any Mod Podge and you can't get it, friends of mine in European countries or in parts of Asia who may not be able to get Mod Podge per se, I would use just a watered down PVA glue. But do a test on your fabric first. Always test your fabric first. I tested this fabric first when I first tried it. I tested it to see what it was going to do and to make sure it wasn't going to look horrible. And you can see I cut that a little bit too wrong. I'll come back here and get that out. So you can see what this looks like now. You see the little spokes? It kind of looks like kind of a flying windmill kind of thing. Okay, this is what it looks like from the front. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue down 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. These little corners, and I just put a little bit of glue on each one of them. Now here's what would really help if I had some of that Mod Podge there. This would help it adhere. And I pull each of them in, give them a little press. So let's fold it in, and I pull it so it's not loose. It's hugging tight to that curve. And I do the same thing here. And the same thing here. Okay. Now, let's see from the other side. I'm going to add a little glue, and I'm really not adding a ton of glue. Not a ton. I do sometimes come through with a toothpick just to make sure it's evenly kind of spread out. This would be much harder to do if this were just regular fabric. Okay, so that's all there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold in this side, and I'm wrapping it as tightly as I can around this little edge. Wrapping it around the edge, and then I put it down, put my 2 fingers together, and then I make sure I pull it tight. Okay, this is what we look like. And now I'm going to do the bottom and the top. And I'm going to pull them in as far as they'll go. Now, this would be much harder to do if it were regular fabric. Now, what I'm going to do here on these corners, and you don't necessarily have to use a bone folder, a tool like any kind of metal piece, like I can use this little crochet hook to do it. I'm basically running it around the edge and pressing the fabric into place where the glue is. Okay, can you see what that looks like? And then this on the back. This is our seat that will go right here. Now, I've just made a colossal mistake with this, which I'm sure that you've seen already. Can you see here and here? You can see a bit of the ink coming through. I didn't think about that this is white fabric. When I was using the pink on this fabric, it doesn't matter much because there's a whole lot of pink on it. You're not going to be able to see it. It's not a big deal. But for this fabric, it's just glaring. I can see that line, big as day, right through there. I'm going to let this dry and see if it's going to work. And then meanwhile, what you can go on to next is gluing down these pieces. Now remember, if you want to make a chair that has a piece on the front and a piece on the back, you're going to need to make 2 of these, 2 of the fabric and 2 of the little cardboard inserts. I did not do any accurate measurements for how much you should need. That's probably something I should do. I tend to be more fly by the seat of my pants with some things, and then just like absolutely anal retentively precise with other things. So this is another method for doing the seats for the chairs and the backs. So I'm going to go away and then come back because I also want to talk about some other painting options that you might want to use.